everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I want to start the second monthly vlog part 2 basically for my December vlog, and that means we have reached the last monthly vlog of the year, which is pretty crazy. I have no idea how we got here. In my mind it's like still June, but we are here now, so we're gonna do it. If you haven't watched my last couple of vlogs, I'm currently in the middle of a very insane project where I read all of my pre-2025 TBR all at once. I have made some progress with that, but I haven't made the amount of progress that I wanted to make with it, or that I needed to make with it to be done by the end of the year, which was the goal. So we are falling like way behind. For now, I'm going to continue doing the project though. I had planned to do it for another 2 weeks, and I think I will stick to that. And then we will have to reevaluate. I do have a spinner wheel. All the books that I'm currently reading are on the wheel, and every slice of the wheel represents roughly 100 pages of each book. So currently we have 3 books that are one spin away from being finished, but I also have quite a few books that are on the wheel still multiple times. So obviously, yeah, the odds are not in my favor right now. So I'm currently still reading the Grimm's Fairytales. I have to read about 30-ish pages more to be done with this spin, and then we can go ahead and spin some more. Now for my audiobook, very stupidly, I currently have 12 minutes left of my current audiobook, which is Christmas Ever After by Michelle Stimpson. So yeah, I should have just finished that off and talked about it in the last vlog, but I didn't, so you get to see it now. Congratulations. In this audiobook, we are following a female character called Stella. She's the mayor of a small town, and in that town they are currently producing a Christmas movie, and we're also following the male film star of that Christmas movie, and they have a bit of a romance. However, in this one I feel like the development of our female main character is so much more in focus, because while she is like a very high achieving person, it's also like a little bit toxic in a way, and she has to grapple with that throughout the book. So I'm enjoying that part. I'm not quite sold on the romance, and for me it doesn't have enough of the Christmassy feel that I wanted to get out of it. But overall, I think it's a good book. It's a solid book. And yeah, I'll listen to those last 12 minutes and then we can move on to the next one. So today is the 18th of December. We actually have some sunshine today, so that is very exciting. Actually seeing some light We love that. I'm also about to head out to my last fitness class of the year, which is kind of sad, but it will resume in January, so it's going to be fine. I just love my fitness classes so much, so it's a little bit sad to not have them for the rest of the year. But let's quickly talk about my progress with my books. The last time we spoke, I was making my way through the Grimm's Fairytales. I had a couple of pages left to read, and I finished that off yesterday. So now I am so super close to finishing this. I mean, I could have just done it, but in the spirit of the challenge, I'm waiting for the next roll to finish the first volume off, and then we'll go into the second volume of these, and again with the notes. I am still really enjoying these. I feel like the last couple of fairy tales definitely had a more common theme where you really see why they were placed together. And with some of them, they are written in dialect, and it's actually really, really hard for me to read them because it's usually not like my dialect. So yeah, it is kind of fun, but then when I see it goes on for like pages and pages, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to take me forever because I really have to like sound it out in my head. So then I left you off on the last vlog with a little wheel spin cliffhanger. So let's reveal what my next book is going to be. And we got this German book that I now absolutely despise. I think this is going to be my worst book of the year, to be fair. It's definitely the book that I hate the most from the whole project, but now we only have 30 pages left. So again, this is the fourth book now that is one spin away from being finished, and that's very exciting. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. The writing style, terrible. The characters, absolutely hate them. The plot is disgusting. I hate this book. But when I finished that yesterday, I was ready for another spin, and I was ready for a good one. So let's see how it went. And we got Wayward Son, the second Simon Snow book. So luckily the wheel was on my side, and I did start reading that a little bit last night, but I'm going to continue on with this today. And then this one will also be very close to being finished when I'm done with this portion. So that's exciting as well. And yeah, I really love the Simon Snow series, and I'm happy to continue on with the second book. This is a reread for me to prepare for the final book, which I have not read before. And so last but not least, I need to update you on my audiobook because I did finish reading the book I was reading, Christmas Ever After by Michelle Stimpson. I had only a couple of minutes left with that, so it's not like a huge achievement, but I did finish the book. I did enjoy the book. I gave it 3.5 stars. I have mostly talked about it in my last vlog, so I don't want to go like into super much detail here, but basically it is a book about Black characters, which I think in holiday reads we still do not get enough representation of that. So in this one we follow the mayor Stella of a little town, and there's a film crew filming a Christmas movie, and the male lead actress kind of starts to have feelings for Stella, but Stella is very much like a career woman, and she's very driven and very successful as well. She just has to grapple with that a little bit to even consider the idea of maybe dating this person. I really liked Stella's character arc. I think the way that she had to deal with her perfectionism and her lack of trust in other people, I really enjoyed that. I think it was very well done. The romance was okay, but I just didn't feel like a big spark with it. Like I was hoping for a little bit more. The romance to like really grip me, and the Christmassy vibes were definitely there, but could have also been amped up a little bit more. So I'm currently also participating in Gamenightathon hosted by Clio from the channel Bemused Bookworm. This is also the channel where I stole the Every Book All at Once idea from, so definitely go check her out. I will link the channel down below. However, with Gamenightathon, I had already finished 3 of my 5 kind of base books I need for the bingo board. I had finished number 15, book with a romance. I had finished number 4, spooky read, and number 3, short book. Now for number 2, beautiful book, I'm reading the Grimm's Fairytales, and now I'm starting the final book for the 5 base reads, and that is number 1, book you've been looking forward to. And for that one, I got the Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This is a reread I do every other year, and I am so ready to get back into this one. This is a YA kind of Christmas fantasy book where we follow our main character of Holly Chase as she is a Scrooge. However, when the 3 ghosts appear to her, she does not change her ways, and so she actually passes away. And when she wakes up, she is now the ghost of Christmas past, and she has to work in this company where every year they put on the whole Scrooge situation for a new person and try to change the world one person at a time. And I love this one. I love A Christmas Carol, and this is such a fun retelling that is like completely its own story, but still has so many nods to the original. It's just great. I love it. So I have reread this one a lot of times, but I'm always looking forward to the next reread, and I already started it. So yeah, I'm having a good time. This might be my last Christmassy audiobook. I'm not quite sure yet, because yeah, we'll see. We'll see how long it takes me to finish this one, because I will be driving home for Christmas, and so I will definitely need something to listen to during the drive. But I'm also starting to feel a little bit burnt out with the holiday content. So we'll see where it goes. But for now, we're reading The Afterlife of Holly Chase. So today is the 22nd of December, and with that we have finished the 7th week of my little reading project, and I'm here to give you a little wrap up of the week, and then we'll go into the last full week of the project. Now, I have decided that this next week will definitely be the last week I do this, like with the wheel spins and all. I really don't want to take all of these books that I'm like almost done with into the new year. So we are going to do one more week of the wheel spins, and then I will spend the last 3 days of the year trying to finish as many of these off as I can. I will go into that a little bit more with the stats in a second, but before we talk the numbers, I just want to catch you up to speed with the books I've been reading this week. I think the last time we spoke, I was making my way through the next part in Wayward Son, which I have successfully done by now. So I'm almost done with this reread. I have, I think, 50-ish pages left of this one. So now I'm waiting for the next wheel spin to let me finish this one off. As I said many times before, this is not quite as good as the first book, Carry On, but I'm still really enjoying it. I'm enjoying seeing our characters on this little mission in the US, experiencing kind of a new world and having to deal with the magic being a little bit different and the magical world being a little bit different than what they're used to. And I just love Bess and Simon. And yeah, I can't wait to finally read the last book in this series. So we hopefully get a happy end for these two characters. I really, really want that. Then it was time for another spin. And I spun The Woman's History. This was the first book I had spun in the whole project, and it is also a book that I have now finished because it was the last time it was on the wheel. So I finished reading this book and I really enjoyed it. I decided to give it 4 stars. I think overall it's just very, very interesting, and I did learn some new tidbits of information. I still feel like this is more of an introduction into the topic if you haven't read a lot of feminist books yet. And I feel like with every single one of these that I read, I always learn a little bit new stuff. So yeah, I would highly recommend this if you want to get more into nonfiction books about women, about the women's movement, and just feminism in general. I had a good time with this one. And then we could do another spin. And we got The Secret Years again. Now, this book, unfortunately, I'm still not enjoying. I'm always fighting my way through these 100 pages, but now this is only 2 spins away from being finished. So all of my books that are like single book project, like not Simon Snow and not the Grimm's Fairytales, are now 1 or 2 spins away from being finished. So very, very close. And so I will try to finish this one off for sure. But yeah, I won't enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie, I won't enjoy it. If you want to read about terrible people doing terrible things to each other in Britain in the 1920s, just go ahead. I don't enjoy that. And with that, we have reached the 4,000 page mark for the project. So yay for that. And it was time for another reward. And as with the previous rewards, I did a little poll on Clio's Discord. Clio from the Chalba Muse Bookworm is the person where I stole this whole idea from. She did an Every Book All at Once project last year. So her Discord people, like my friends, voted on a reward for me, and they voted for me to finish the book that has been 1 spin away from being finished for the longest time. And when I put that poll up, that was still The Woman's History. However, then I spun it, so now we have a different book to read. And that is the Christmassy short story collection, Katzen, lieben, Weihnachten. So this one is very short, so when I spun it the first time, I immediately had it for just 1 more spin because it's only 200 pages. So this is a book that I hope to finish tonight, read the rest of these short stories. And it is very fitting because we are so close to Christmas now, and I definitely wanted to finish this one before Christmas because usually after Christmas I'm just done, because I start reading my Christmas books at the end of November usually. So by the time Christmas rolls around, I'm pretty much done with the Christmas stuff. So I feel very good about finishing this one today. Okay, so next up, let's go into the numbers quickly. So as I said, we have crossed the 4,000 page mark. We are now at 4,045 pages read for the project. That means that I have finished reading for 40 spins, which is very good, but still not good enough. It means that we are currently 63% through the project, so not even 2/3 of the way through, considering I only have one more week. That is ridiculous. So we still have to read 2,338 pages for the project, which, I'm not gonna lie, in 1.5 weeks of like the year left, I will not be able to do that, especially with Christmas, because I don't think I will read a lot throughout the Christmas days that I spend with my family, which is not a family where we just sit around and do like our hobbies together. So yeah, I don't see that, but I will still give it my all, especially the 6 days that will be after Christmas for me. I will read and read and read, I promise. So for this week, this was a week for me. I would say it's a little bit like lower middle week. Like, it was the third worst week I had. So this week I read 435 pages for the project, which is still a lot. Like, reading over 400 pages is usually my weekly goal, so I'm still like really fine with that. I finished reading for 5 spins and I read about 6% of the overall page goal in this week. So with that, again, we did about half of what I would have needed to do per week to finish this project within the 8 weeks. We have, just like extended the amount of pages that we're behind with this. However, I did have a super busy week. I had a Christmas party. I went to a Christmas market. I did a lot of like baking and gift wrapping and just getting ready for Christmas. Like, I spent almost the whole weekend in the kitchen just baking stuff and preparing things. So yeah, it was the best I could do. And I don't feel bad about this. Like, this is usually not a good time for reading for me. So that I read consistently over 400 pages every week of the project so far is a win for me, even if we're falling behind with a massive goal that I had. So at this point, currently, we have finished 2 books of the project and we still have quite a few to go. However, as I said, with most of these, I have only 1 or 2 spins to go. I have a few more for Simon Snow. With that one, I'm a little bit more than halfway through with like all 3 books. And then with the Grimm's Fairytales, I'm currently about 1/3 of the way through with all 3 volumes. So those are lagging behind. I'm a little bit scared of the wheel spins for the next week because obviously I would love to make progress in the books that I can realistically finish before the end of the year, but the wheel is gonna have its own opinions. And so I hope that you will enjoy going into this last week of wheel spin chaos with me before we try to end the year off with a little bit less chaos. For today is my last full day here at home where I get to prepare stuff. So I still have some baking to do, still have some gift wrapping to do. I have to go to a couple of stores, get stuff for the cat so that she will be fine throughout the holidays. It's gonna be busy, and then tomorrow I leave, and then I will be gone for 2.5 days basically. And when I come back, I will have 6 days of calm and quiet. I'm really looking forward to that as well. So let's go. Sorry, I forgot to mention that yesterday was also the end of the magical readathon Lightfall, so I will show you my little picture as well with all of the bingo prompts that I ticked off. Now, the gold stars are things I ticked off with books that I have actually finished or like activities that I did. And then the silver stars is just a book that I made some progress in but haven't finished yet. So this is my representation of how Lightfall went. I think I did pretty well, but then I also did a ton of stuff last week. I'm usually not that active. This is a pure like Christmas thing that was happening. So yeah, I did okay. I did okay. And it was a lot of fun as always. I just love Lightfall. It's so cozy and sweet, and I just love the prompts that she comes up with every year. So today is the 23rd of December. I'm just about to head out the door and go visit my family. I have the rental car ready and everything, but I wanted to give you a very, very quick update. Now, I did finish books, which is exciting. Last night I did finish reading this short story collection, Katzen, lieben, Weihnachten. So I read the second half of this book, and with that we have another book of the project finished. This is the third one, so very exciting stuff. I found the first half of the collection much stronger than the second half. A couple of stories in the second half really didn't work for me, and I just felt like the first half had more like heartwarming stories. The second half was maybe a little bit more experimental. It had a little bit of a different tone in some of the stories, but that did not always land with me. So overall I give it 3.5 stars. I think it's okay. It's all right. Then we can do one more spin. And obviously, for me to take to the Christmas holiday with my family, it gave me the Erotica Classic. Are you kidding me? However, you know, if the wheel demands, I have to supply. So this is what I'll take with me. I don't think there will be a lot of like reading throughout the holidays, so don't get your hopes up. I will also take Letters from Father Christmas. I'm a little bit more than halfway through with this one, and this is just a nice little reread that I'm doing for like the Christmas mood. And I think this will be more the vibe than the erotica. However, I'm gonna take both and we'll just see what happens. Last but not least, I finished my audiobook. I finished reading The Afterlife of Holly Chase. This was also a reread and I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed it. I love this book. I gave it 4.5 stars on reread. Again, I do reread this every other year. I always reread like A Christmas Carol and this one, in turn. So yeah, this was lovely and I would highly recommend if you haven't read it yet. I think why I like this one is that while it is a little bit romantic, it has more of a fantasy and sci-fi vibe to it. We have some magic, we have some tech that is fun, and yeah, I just love a good Christmas Carol retelling. So that was really nice. And so the audiobook I have now started is The Christmas Tree Murders. This is the first book in a 1920s cozy mystery. I feel like I've talked about that before, so who knows? Editing me will have to fix stuff. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see how I will like this one. This will be my audiobook for the drive. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on that. And now I really have to head out or I will be late. So today is the 28th of December. With that, we are coming very close to the end of the year and also very close to the end of the project. And today is the last day where I'm doing wheel spins. So I thought I'd quickly update you on my reading in the last few days because I have actually finished quite a few books, which is a surprise even to me. I think the last time we spoke, I talked about finishing The Afterlife of Holly Chase as well as Katzen, lieben, Weihnachten. I think I forgot to mention that I read both of these for the Gamenightathon readathon. So with that, I also made progress on my readathon reading, and they were on my original TBR. So I quickly wanted to mention that before we move on. Then the next book I did finish is Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. This was a reread. I just wanted something sweet and nice to reread for Christmas, especially as a lot of my project books aren't actually going super well. So I just needed this a little bit. And yeah, it's a very quick read because you have like the pictures of the original letters. Now, if you don't know, J.R.R. Tolkien wrote Christmas letters to his children as Father Christmas, and they're really sweet, very creative. You definitely see a lot of Tolkien in the stories that Father Christmas sends to the children, and it's just very nice. A lot of these are also written during the Great Depression and the Second World War, so some of these topics are brought up a little bit as well, as it was harder and harder for Tolkien to get the Christmas gifts that his children wanted. So that's also quite interesting to read about. I love this book. I gave it 4.5 on reread. Now, I think I also told you that the wheel gave me the Marquis de Sade book to take home for Christmas to my family. And that's what I did. But honestly, over the Christmas days, I read a total of 15 pages. So yeah, I did not read. Our Christmas is very involved, so I read the rest of this when I got back home, and I finished this portion, and now I have just a little bit left for the next wheel spin, or as I probably won't spin it today, to finish off after today. But basically, I have reached the point where the first part of the book ends, and I think in my last vlog I said that it looks like the author gave up on the story, but that's not quite true. There is a little footnote in here that explains that because Marquis de Sade wrote a lot of his books while he was not imprisoned, but he was in an asylum, basically, he didn't have the writing materials that he needed, and so he couldn't write the rest of the book. He just didn't have the materials, but he outlined the rest of the book. So I'm now in the part where you only have the outlines, basically. So it is much quicker to read because it's just like one or two sentences instead of like a whole paragraph, basically. So I hope that the rest of this book will be gone quite quickly. I still think if you want to read Marquis de Sade, just read Justine. I don't think you need any of his other books, to be fair. So then it was time for another wheel spin. And it seems the wheel was in a bit of a Christmas mood because it gave me Simon Snow finally again, so I could finish off the last couple of pages in Wayward Son, which I did yesterday. And so I have finished this reread as well. This is my last reread of the year, so hopefully all of the other books I finished this year will actually reduce the TBR, because after the Christmas haul we do need some reduction energy right here. But yeah, I really enjoyed the reread of this. I gave it 4 stars on reread again. It's just a series that is close to my heart because I love these characters so much, and I think the plot is interesting. It's not as good as the first book. Like, that is the big thing. And I did not remember that this actually ends on a cliffhanger, so it makes even more sense there is a third book that I now hope to read soon. And with that, we are spinning the wheel again. And obviously the wheel is back with its bullshit because we got more Grimm's Fairy Tales, obviously. This is the one thing where I know I won't finish it before the end of the year because I have just so much left. However, because of this spin, I did actually finish the first volume now. So this one is completely done with the notes for it as well. And then I started reading the second volume of the Fairy Tales, which is bigger than the first one. So yeah, I'm not even halfway through with the whole thing. However, it still feels good to have finished this one. And I counted both Wayward Son and this first volume for the Gamenightathon Readathon. And with those two books, I have actually finished the readathon. So I will try to remember to put a little picture of my progress, my little bingo board, and the things I read for the readathon up, so you can see. I'm still enjoying reading these. It's just, you know, reading so much of it at a time when I want to just be finishing off all these other books. It is a little bit of a frustrating experience, but not because the fairy tales are bad. They're still very interesting. And I had a couple of things I learned yesterday that I found really intriguing. For example, and I know this is like super silly, but bear with me. In the audiobook for A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, they mispronounced the name Falada. They say Falada, and it like really bothered me when I was listening to the audiobook. And then in the notes for the fairy tale, it actually states that the second syllable is short. So I felt like a very, is it vindicated? I don't know English. So that was great. And then we have one more wheel spin. And for that, the wheel was super nice to me, and it gave me one of the books I wanted to finish off. This was the one that I had the least pages to still read to finish it. This is the German book about immortality. I have now finished it, and I gave it 1.5 stars. This is the worst book I've read this year. This is complete trash. I think it's the most horrible thing for me, like, that I could read. I found it pretentious. I found it offensive, stupid, everything. It was just so bad. And the only good thing I can say is that I have finished it, and I will haul it next year, and I will never look at it again. Okay, and with that, it is time for another wheel spin. And as I said, the wheel is back with its bullshit, so we got the fairy tales again. And I mean, it makes sense because right now almost half of the options on the wheel is the fairy tales, so we'll see. I'll try to read another 100 pages of these today. I hope to do one more wheel spin today after finishing the 100 pages of this, so we can end this challenge strong. And we'll see whether that works out. I can't really make big promises here, but I'm trying my best. I really don't have any plans today. It is Sunday. It's the first day I feel a little bit better again. I felt very poorly the last 2 days. And so the only other thing I want to do today is edit a video and upload it. So that should be doable. It's currently a little bit after noon, so I think I can still read 200 pages today, right? We'll see about that. But yeah, if it's like 200 pages of the fairy tales, I will cry. I will cry. But yeah, with that, I think I better get reading now, and we'll talk again tomorrow, where I'll let you know how the last week of wheel spins went, as well as the books that I will then focus on for the rest of the year. So today is the 29th of December, and with that we have reached the end of my project in the sense that we won't do any more wheel spins. I'll share with you one more in a second, but it is done now. I will talk to you about the progress I made yesterday, then we'll go into the weekly stats, and then I will explain to you what my plan is for these last 3 days of the year. So I think the last thing I mentioned yesterday was that I spun the Grimm's Fairytales again, so I had to read another 100 pages in these. I have now crossed the halfway point with the Fairytales. There is 200 Fairytales collected in this, as well as some other stories, but for the Fairytales I'm now more than halfway in. So I did make some good progress, and as well with the notes book too, so that is good. So let's see what that final spin had in mind for us. And obviously the wheel was like, you know what, there is one book you have not started yet. Just one book that I owned before the start of 2025 that I hadn't started yet. And it is Anyway the Wind Blows. So the wheel actually got me to start this. I was very hopeful that I would be able to read the whole spin, so 100 pages in this. Sadly, that did not happen. I read about 60 pages, and then the thing is, today, 4 years ago today, my previous cat passed away. And so I still struggle with that a lot. It was like after an illness, but it was quite sudden. It all just, yeah, it was very sudden. And so I have a hard time dealing with it. And then also, I now have Boozy with me for pretty much the same time that I had my previous cat when she passed away. So it all got a bit much. So I spent an hour last night looking at old pictures and crying, basically. So that's why I didn't manage to finish the first 100 pages in Anyway the Wind Blows. So this is where we're at for the stats for this final week of this project. So in the end, I managed to read for 46 spins, and this was working on the 47th one. So I think overall we did quite well. The whole project would have been 66 spins, so we're about 20 spins off. I read 4,583 pages for the project over those 8 weeks, and the whole project would have been 6,383 pages. So in total, I managed to read 72% of the total page count of the project within these 8 weeks. So we didn't quite make it to 3/4 of the journey. However, I still feel very good about the progress that I have made. And I really hope that with these last days of the year now, we can finish some of these books off so that I will have very minimal work still to do when the new year comes around. Now, if we look at this final week, during this week, I read 538 pages for the project. With that, this is more of a middle of the road week. I managed to finish reading for 6 spins, and I was working on the 7th one. And I read about 9% of the total page goal in this final week. So yeah, it's not a good week, it's not a bad week. I think considering the 3 days that I was not reading because Christmas, I still managed to catch up quite a good bit. Now, in this 8 weeks, I managed to finish 4 of the books already. And for the next 3 days, I hope to finish 4 more, so that for 8 weeks, we would have finished 8 books for the project. Now, this is a bit skewed because obviously 2 of the projects were multiple book projects. So for Simon Snow, I managed to finish 2 books as well. So that would bring the 4 up to 6 books. And then I also finished 1 of the volumes for the Grimm's Fairytales. So it's actually 7 books. But you know, it's a bit confusing because I counted these parts as like one big book, which obviously it's always 3 volumes. So looking at what is left right now, if I just count the individual books, we have 494 pages left, which I think I can still do in the 3 days. I'm very, very hopeful that I will read those pages down. If I take Anyway the Wind Blows into the mix as well, it would still be 1022 pages, which I don't think I can do. I might get to a few more pages in this book before the end of the year, but there's no way in hell I read 1,000 pages in 3 days. It's just not happening. I also have some small plans, so no. And if we take all of the books, so with the Grimm's Fairytales as well, I would still have 1,800 pages to read, and that is a January problem. That's not gonna happen within 3 days. So let's look at the books and what I still want to do. So the book I still have the most pages to read is the Grimm's Fairytales, and this one I have around 750 pages left to go. So I'm almost halfway through this whole set of 3 volumes, and as I said, I won't be doing that this year. Then for Anyway the Wind Blows, I still have about 500 pages left to read. Again, I don't think that will happen this year. It's either this or the other books. So might make a few more pages progress, but yeah, this is also a January problem. Then we have The Secret Years, and this one I have around 185 pages left. So this is definitely still quite a bit, but I can read these pages quite fast because it is the German translation, and also there isn't like too many words on a page. So I hope I can still do this. On third place, we have 3 Cups of Tea. I haven't spun this one in ages, and I still have around 130 pages left of this one. Now, this is quite a slow read, so this will still take a little bit out of me. Then on second place, we have Wish You Were Here by Jodi Picoult. In this one, I have around 100 pages left. And then the book I will start off with today is The 120 Days of Sodom, and in this one, I have about 75 pages left. So this one I hope to finish off today. And I think then I will move on to The Secret Years to try to at least read another 100 pages in this. More would be preferable. And then I would try to finish these 2 books off in the coming days. So I think that's all I have for this update. Wish me luck for the next couple of days. I still also want to finish my audiobook, The Christmas Tree Murders, and then probably read that one short story I also got as an audiobook as well. So that would work nicely with my stats I have going on for this month. So let's see whether we can do this. Fingers crossed, and let's get reading. So today is the 30th of December. I actually didn't plan on updating you again, but I have miraculously already finished 4 books since we last spoke, so I think I should update you again. So for the TBR project, the next book I finally finished reading was The 120 Days of Sodom by Marquis de Sade. I finished this off yesterday, and I'm very happy that this is done. I gave this one 2.5 stars. I think this is my least favorite. No, I'm very sure this is my least favorite of the Marquis de Sade books that I've read, and I don't plan on picking up any of his other books. This was really just a phase I had like 15 years ago, and then the books just were still flying around that TBR. So now finally they're not. And I'm very happy about that. This is a unique book just because it wasn't finished and you only have like the outline thing in the back, as I had mentioned before. But overall, the stuff that was mentioned in this book, it's just nothing that I find particularly intriguing. A lot of like eating poop, which, you know, it doesn't get me going. it does not. And then this morning I also finished reading The Secret Years by Judith Lennox. This is a historical fiction 1920s setting in like the British countryside. It very much deals with the after effects of the First World War, as well as just like poverty, I guess. I unfortunately do not like Judith Lennox books. I gave this one 3 stars because it's not per se a bad book, but it is a bad book for me. It's just a book with storylines that I found completely uninteresting. The main character of this one had her moments where I liked her more, but then she also had her moments where I liked her a lot less. All the other characters in this book are pretty horrible, and it just wasn't a good time. If you want to read about like the tragic, sad stuff of history, then maybe you will enjoy books like this. But for me personally, I didn't learn anything from this one. I knew that life was hard 100 years ago, and there is like a lot of these like ups and downs and like through the decade and whatever. And let me just tell you, the sex scene. There is like this sex scene of the OTP couple, and you've been waiting for this, like for them to like actually do something for 550 pages. And it was the worst thing I've ever read. It wasn't like completely explicit, but the things that were mentioned were the most unromantic thing I've ever read. He was rummaging around in her mouth. What is that? Is that the kiss we've been waiting for 550 pages? And don't get me started on the rest. So I'm so glad this is done. This really was not a book for me, unfortunately. So those were the project books. Now I have 2 more books to go for the project. However, yesterday I also finished listening to my audiobook, The Christmas Tree Murders, I think it's called, by Andrea Hicks. This is a 1920s inspired mystery, also set in Britain, which it got me confused a little bit, not gonna lie. I hate reading books that are very similar at the same time. However, this one is a mystery, so we do have murders, and our protagonist, Camille Devine, is investigating. I did enjoy this one. I think what I liked about this is that it was a little bit more community focused. So Camille is the main character, but a lot of other characters helped her on her journey to figure out what was going on with these murders. So I did enjoy that quite a bit actually, and it was something that reminded me more of the Miss Fisher books, because she also has her like little troop of people. However, with Camille, it was a lot more people, and it was very hard for me to really like know where they all came from and why they're all helping her. So yeah, in the end I gave this one 3.5 stars. It was a fun read, and the conclusion to the case also connects to something that actually happened in history, which I just read about in the Women's History of the Modern World book, which was also kind of funny. So I had a moment when I was listening to the book where I was thinking about that thing that happened in real life, but I didn't connect the dots, I didn't figure it out. But I thought it was kind of fun that it tried to be educational in that way, and also mentioning a lot about the suffragette movement. And then last but not least, last night, I started and finished a short story by Alexi Harrow, and that was The Sixth Death of the Saint. And this is a short story that is kind of connected to her new book, The Everlasting. And I definitely really want to read that, because I love the like female knight trend we're having right now. But because I had heard that these are a little bit connected, or like have the same idea or whatever, I really wanted to check out this short story, and it was amazing. I gave it 5 stars. And this one, we have mostly a second person narration, which you all know I love. I love a second person narration. And in this book, it also makes a lot of sense, similar to the Broken Earth trilogy. However, in this one, we follow a young girl who's very poor. She's an orphan, and one day she has this apparition of the Saint of War, and the saint tells her to go outside and meet her king and start serving him. And that's what she does, and she becomes this like very big, amazing knight, and she wins all the battles for her king, and things are not quite what they seem. And this has a little bit of a time fuckery twist, which I loved. And it's just like this overall question of, is it worth it? That I struggle with a lot in my life, like with my career and everything. I'm like, is this really worth all the trouble? Not so sure, and that's something the main character has to figure out in that short story as well. And I absolutely loved it, and I would highly recommend if you have access to it somehow. I don't know if it's in like the Kindle Unlimited stuff or something. If you have access, read it. So today I'm actually going to see the new Wicked movie, and I'm very excited for that, but I'll also try to read a little bit more so we can hit the goals tomorrow. So it is now the 1st of January. We have survived the year of 2025. This was a very weird experience for me because I think 2025, in the grand scheme of things, was a very terrible year. For me personally, obviously, because of my sabbatical, it was one of the best years of my life. I have a hard time saying goodbye. And, with everything that's going on in the world right now, it's really hard to really look forward to a new year. But we'll just see. We'll have to see. There's a lot of stuff we can't really influence as like normal individual people, but there's always hope. So yeah, happy 2026 to you. I really hope it will be a good one. I really hope that some of the tides will turn, that there will be more peace again, but it's a rough time. Let's just say that. So, before I get completely off track, let's talk about the last books I finished in 2025. So I completed all my last minute goals. I finished reading 3 Cups of Tea by Greg Mortensen and David Oliver Rellin. This is a bit of a controversial book. I decided to give it 3 stars. I think that the overall message of this book is something that I think is good. This is about bringing education, especially to girls in Pakistan, and I think that is an important topic. This is also a book that came out around after 9/11. So a lot of this is framed in the war on terror kind of language, but the message that education is what really will defeat terrorism is very important. Now, is this a flawless book? No, I found a lot of it to be quite boring. I think that in some regards, information that would have been helpful to the reader if you don't know a lot about this region was missing. But I still think that overall, this is a book that, it just shines a spotlight on something we should be thinking about. And then I also finished reading Wish You Were Here by Jodi Picoult. I gave this one 2 stars. This is a weird pandemic book. It's very much about the pandemic. It's very much about COVID. So if you think, well, it's not going to be that bad, it is. And it is really bad. Like, me dropping it is like the perfect way to describe this book. Like, I want to throw it across the room. I thought it was really bad. I know that some people think it's like really profound and whatnot, but I think it's just bad. The writing isn't bad, but the story is bad. I did not like the main character at all. The twist was just horrible. It's like one of the worst twists I've ever read. And I think that the topic that the author wanted to shine a light on is important, but the way she did it just was not it. It was not it. It's not a good story. It's not great characters. And I'm just glad it's done. And then the last book, if you want to call it that I finished is The Knight and the Butcherbird by Alexi Harrow. Another short story that unfortunately is one of those Amazon exclusive, whatever things. And I really liked it. I think I preferred the Sixth Death of the Saint, so I gave this one 4.5 stars. But this also has just a very interesting perspective on love and change and what happens when the people we love change. This is a post-apocalyptic story where we follow a woman who is the kind of storyteller of her people, and she meets this knight, and the knight is there to hunt a demon. And the question kind of is like, what are these demons? Like, where do they come from? Why do they happen? And yeah, it was lovely. I would definitely recommend if you have access to it in some way. So now for the last time ever, we will look at some of the numbers for my every book all at once TBR reduction scheme. I did not quite finish all of the books for that, but I will not continue doing the thing in the new year. For me, this is like very much finished. I will still finish the books. I talked about them in my January TBR already, but I will just read them as normal books. So in the end, for the project, I managed to finish reading 5,077 pages. So we had 6,000 roughly 400 on the TBR. I did not quite reach that. I read about 80% of this page count, which is still very impressive to me for like 2 months. This was a lot of lifting I did there. I finished all but 2 projects, and the 2 projects are the big ones. The Fairytales and the final Simon Snow book are still unfinished, but as I said, I will finish those in the new year as like a normal reading pace thing. And with all the other books, I did manage to finish them, which I'm very happy about. Now, I did not spin anymore during the end because I just wanted to finish off whatever I could, but technically I would have read for 53 of the 66 spins that were possible, so I think we did a good job. Now in the Fairytales, I have 778 pages left, but I have mentioned that before, that because in the 3rd volume, there's also like bibliographies and stuff like that. It's not like all reading pages, but it was hard to like kind of sort that through without like already reading it. So this is the number. And then with Simon Snow, I have 528 pages left. So overall, just as I said, about 1,300 pages that I didn't get to before the end of the year. Now for these final 3 days of the challenge, I managed to read 494 pages in that final week, which meant that this would have been a strong week if it had been a full week. And I read for 7 spins, and I read about 8% of the total page count in that time. And with that, we're saying goodbye to the challenge. We're saying goodbye to 2025. I hope you enjoyed watching these vlogs. I know that they're always super long because of all the extra stuff I talk about. I hope that in the new year, my reading vlogs will be like normal length again. I will definitely tone down the reading a little bit. I have really been trying to achieve so much in these months now, but yeah, I also feel like I want to take a little bit of a step back, and I'm very glad that this project is finished. So let me know in the comments, how did your last weeks of reading go in 2025? I would love to hear about that. Also, don't forget to leave a like. That always helps me out, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye!